The moment you spend 3 frustrating hours assembling a wobbly, imperfect wooden coffee table, Dan Ariely proved your brain instantly values it more than a flawless, pre-assembled designer piece. Welcome to This Explainer, where today we're diving deep into a hidden cognitive bias that dictates how we value absolutely everything, from the furniture in our living room to our very own business ideas. It's known as the IKEA effect.
And here is why this matters. If you do not understand this psychological distortion, you will continue to overvalue your own ideas, projects, and bad investments simply because you poured sweat into them. This isn't just a quirk about cheap particle board. We're talking about the fundamental way our brains weigh the effort we expend against objective reality.
But how do massive multi-billion-dollar companies exploit this exact cognitive bias to make you do their manufacturing work for them while charging you a premium? It's a brilliant, almost invisible strategy, and it happens right under our noses every single day.
To really understand how this psychological heist works, we have to look back at how companies first discovered they could weaponize our own effort against us.
Picture this. It's the 1950s, and Betty Crocker introduces instant boxed cake mixes. The pitch was literally just add water. It was supposed to make life easier, right? Well, they completely failed. Consumers actually rejected them because they made baking too easy. It totally devalued the labor and skill of the person making the cake. It felt like cheating. So what did the manufacturers do? They brilliantly changed the formula to require the customer to actually crack and add a fresh egg. Suddenly, the baker had to put in a little bit of effort, and boom, sales exploded. People desperately wanted to feel involved in the process.
And today, companies have taken that simple add an egg revelation and turned it into massive global business models. Think about it. You're literally paying a premium to do their labor for them. IKEA furniture assembly is the obvious one, but what about Build-A-Bear workshops? You pay extra to stuff and construct your own toy. There are even these things called haycations, where people pay good money to go work and harvest food on a farm, or those paint-your-own pottery studios. These companies are raking in profits precisely because they force you to expend your own effort.
Okay, so let's look at the hard empirical science behind this, because the data is absolutely fascinating.
A team of researchers, Michael Norton, Daniel Machin, and Dan Ariely, decided to put this to the test. They asked participants to fold origami frogs and cranes, and then bid on their own creations using their own real money. These were the builders. Then they brought in non-builders, basically objective bystanders, and asked them to bid on those exact same paper animals. The divide was wild. The non-builders saw the amateur origami for exactly what it was, nearly worthless crumpled up paper. But the builders? They imbued their little amateurish creations with immense, almost irrational personal value.
The hard numbers really tell the story here. The non-builders were willing to pay a mere 5 cents for the amateur origami. Makes sense, right? But the builders were willing to fork over 23 cents for their own crumpled paper. That is nearly 5 times as much. And here's the kicker. When non-builders were asked to bid on beautiful origami made by actual experts, they bid 27 cents, which means the builders valued their own terrible amateur creations almost as highly as the open market valued genuine expert art.
And it actually gets worse. Not only do we overvalue our own work, but we genuinely believe everyone else is going to love it just as much as we do. Dan Ariely pointed out that the builders didn't just love their origami more, they assumed everybody else would see the world through their exact same lens. When asked to guess what other people would pay for their paper frogs, they predicted super high bids. They'd completely lost all critical distance.
Now you might be thinking, okay, so I overvalue a paper crane, big deal. But this exact same bias has massive, high-stakes consequences in the real world.
This is the exact reason startups get utterly ruined. Founders will refuse to pivot away from bad ideas they've spent years building, riding a sinking ship straight to the bottom. To understand why, we have to look at the psychological engine driving the IKEA effect: effort justification. Established by psychologist Leon Fistinger back in 1957 as part of cognitive dissonance theory, effort justification is our hardwired tendency to attribute greater value to an outcome simply because we worked hard for it. Our brains absolutely hate the cognitive dissonance of working our tails off for a bad result, so to protect our egos, we subconsciously inflate the value of that result to justify our suffering.
Modern behavioral economics is really shining a bright light on this right now. Research in behavioral labor economics proves that there are incredibly deep psychological motives driving these decisions. It perfectly explains why highly intelligent managers and brilliant creators act so irrationally, desperately clinging to projects that the open market has clearly and completely rejected.
And that leads us straight to the dark side of the IKEA effect. When founders and managers pour immense sweat equity into a project, that loss of critical distance kicks in. It creates the not invented here syndrome, where teams will flat out reject brilliant outside ideas simply because they didn't come up with them themselves. It causes leadership to overcommit to their own bad ideas, blinding them to objective feedback. Ultimately, it provides the core psychological foundation for the devastating sunk cost fallacy.
But there is a really important catch here. Is this effect permanent? Does just trying hard automatically make us love the results?
To test the boundaries of this, the researchers ran another experiment, this time using Lego sets. They set up 3 conditions. First, pre-build, where people just received an already assembled set. Second, build, where they assembled it themselves. And third, a highly frustrating unbuild condition, where participants assembled the set but then immediately had to tear it all apart. The result? Building the Lego set created that massive premium valuation we'd expect. But in the unbuild condition, where the physical fruits of their labor were destroyed, that valuation premium completely vanished.
So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that labor only leads to love if the task is successfully completed. As humans, we have a fundamental psychological need for what's called affectance, basically the ability to successfully produce a desired outcome and feel competent doing it. Failing to finish a project or having it destroyed completely dissolves the IKEA effect. Effort only justifies an inflated value if you can actually step back and see the finished product.
So, what does this all mean for you? How can we actually outsmart our own brains?
You must constantly challenge your own cognitive dissonance and ask yourself a very, very hard question. Are you objectively evaluating the true worth of your projects, or are you just totally blinded by your own sweat equity? Whenever you're deeply invested, remember that 23-cent crumpled origami. You have to seek out objective, unfiltered opinions from non-builders, people who are completely emotionally detached from the exhausting labor you've just performed.
The research reminds us of one vital rule. We have to be incredibly careful when our labor leads to love. If you want to make objective financial decisions and stop overvaluing your own creations, subscribe to the channel now and let us know your worst IKEA build in the comments. Thanks for checking out this explainer. The next time you pour your blood, sweat, and tears into a project, you have to ask yourself, did you actually build a masterpiece, or are you just admiring your own sweat?